Hi guys, this is Pete from MyJewelryBench.com. Probably the first time you're seeing me if you haven't watched my introductory video. I wanted to talk a little bit today about some of the things that happen when you do watch repairs for other jewelers. I do a lot of wholesale work, and I have many other jewelers that bring me the parts that they want, or the watches that they want to be fixed, or even jewelry. And to save them money, I'll often give them the option to order their own parts. So, a lot of times, if they have a watch with a bad movement, I'll have them order the movement. I'll just give them the part number they have to order. I'll give them all the specifications that they need to place an order for. And when it comes in, they just bring me all the parts with the watch, and then I'll do the swap for them. Sometimes, my wholesale accounts will occasionally get it wrong. And today is an example of how they got it wrong. So we're looking at this ESQ watch. It's a little dirty. I'll clean it up a little bit when I do the service on it. But you'll notice that the crown is at the 3 position and the date is at the 6. Traditionally, the date is at the 3. Some watches do it at the 6. Some do it at the 4 location. So, depending on the particular model of watch, when you order the replacement movement, and I'm going to open this up so we can get a better look at it. When you order the replacement movement, I'll tell them when you order the watch, order it with a D code. Now, a D code is where the date marker would be in the upright position. So, for instance, if we look at this watch, grab a little screwdriver here, you'll notice that the crown at the 3 position, the number 17, which represents the date that this is currently on, is in the upright position at the 3. And this particular watch, the date is at the 6. So if we look at the 6 position, you'll see that we're rotated at 90 degrees, which would make it uneligible or unrecognizable. When you look at it, you'd be looking at your watch like, well, why is the date wrong? Who screwed up? So sometimes if the customer orders, if my wholesale account orders the wrong movement, I will occasionally tell them, bring me the parts anyway, and I'll swap the date ring. Most watches you can do it. Some watches you can't do it, and we're going to check this one to see if we can, because sometimes with these inexpensive plastic housed movements, we can't always change the date ring without destroying the watch. Now, if we look closely on this particular watch model, there is a screw here, here, and here. Now, this plate here encapsulates all the setting gears for the watch. So what I mean by that is the setting gears are to set the time and to advance the date. So you can pull the crown out to the first click, and when you turn the crown, you can see we can advance the date. You can't go backwards, but you can go forwards. And then if I pull it out to the second click by turning the crown, I'm actually advancing or retarding the time. So you got to keep that in mind. There are lots of little parts in here that can come loose, that you can lose, and that can be a bad thing. So with many of these new watch movements, sadly, we run into the problem of plastic posts that have been brought through this plate, and these plastic posts are then heated and melted over the plate to hold it in place. Those posts keep everything firm. The watch still operates good. We're only, the manufacturer's only melting the very tip of it, where like this screw would be. That might be plastic in some cases. So keep that in mind, because, I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't even try to scrape off those little plastic tabs, try to pull this plate out, put it back on, and try to redo it. It's never going to work. You're always going to have problems in the future. You're better off just reordering the correct part. With that said, let's start looking at these 2 watches. I'm going to pull the movement out of this watch. We're going to grab the hands off of it, and we're going to start working on it, making sure that we can match up these 2 date rings. Okay, let's start by removing the spacer ring. The next thing we're going to do is remove the battery. And then we're going to remove the stem and crown. In this particular watch, you pull it to the first click, and then the little pinhole. Let's see if I can show you this on the camera. The pinhole right here, when you push down straight into that, there's a little tab that releases the clutch and the stem will come out. I've showed you that before, we're just going through it again. Push it down, pull the stem out, put that aside. Not to damage the dial of the watch, I always put plastic over it. We're going to take our pry tools and get them under the hour hand. Gently lift up. You might have to twist a little bit sometimes. And now we have the watch movement almost free. So the next step, last step, is to remove the dial. To remove them. This one is just posted in place. So we're just going to pry up a little bit. And by doing that, what I'm doing is I'm actually wedging between the movement and the dial. And I'm just pushing out gently. You can see the dial feet right there, and we'll do that all the way around the perimeter. There should be 2, sometimes 3 dial feet. Once it's off, the movement comes off. There's our old watch movement, and we have to take this date ring off and put it on that watch. And remove these 3 screws that are holding the plate in place. Okay, now that the screws are loose, I'll take one, put that aside, just loosen this last one up a little bit more. Okay, oh, we have one more screw. There's 4 screws holding this in. And now this plate should come right off. Take note at the position. So for instance, we have our setting wheel, this little gear here, and the opening on the plate goes back in that position. Pull that plate off, and now we can see the click that locks the date wheel in position, and this is what actually causes the little click when you change the date. Here we can see all our little setting gears. So we have our little gear here for setting the time, and that also works. You can see it slides back and forth for setting the date function. So depending on where this is, if it's forward, it'll set the time. If it's back, it'll set the date. And one little gear that's stuck on the plate. I'm going to put that back on the watch so you can see it. This little gear here works in conjunction with the stem, so that depending on how this falls into position, this gear turns when you turn the crown, and depending on which way you turn the crown, you can see how it actuates whether it's going to set the time or the date. So if it turns counterclockwise, it's going to change the time. If it turns clockwise, it wants to change the date. Okay, the next step is to get the date ring out. Very simple. We're going to take a small screwdriver. We're going to lift up on this date ring. And I'm going to grab it from this side so we can get it away from this spring. Just like so. So that's the one we want to use. And I'm going to show you the difference when I get this one off. So let's grab our new movement. Get that situated. Let's take a look. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. Let's get these loosened up. Okay, so the next thing we have to do is remove the 4 screws from the working watch movement. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to loosen those up and remove those. And now we're going to remove the plate. Aside. And now we have to remove this date ring. So I'm going to remove this date ring again by picking it up on the side of the click. lifting it out. Reference, this is the date ring from the new movement with the date at the 3 position. And this is the date ring with the date at the 6 position. Now, I'm just going to put this on top of this, and we can see that with the top ring in position, let's get that moved over a little bit, because we need the date at the 6. You can see the number 6 here is facing upright, but the number 30 is facing 90 degrees clockwise. So that tells us that this is a 3 o'clock date ring, the top one is the 6 o'clock date ring, and this is the date ring that we want to put back in the watch. And then we're going to check and see that our setting gears are all in place. We're going to take the date ring and put it back. This has a nice little beveled edge that the date ring falls into. Put that back in. And I want to make sure that the spring, the click spring, is in the right position, so we're going to get that moved in. There we go. And once that's done, so we'll grab the plate, lay that up on top of the watch movement. And then we're going to use a small screwdriver, and we're just going to make sure that all our screw holes align. Now, the next step is to get the screws into that plate. Take your time. Don't rush it. These screws are small, the plate's very delicate. You want to get them in the hole. And then you're going to start by tightening one up just a little bit, not all the way, but you just want to get it started. Because they're small, you just take your time. So there's the first. We'll go to the opposite side. We'll do the last 2. That being done, let's just test and make sure that if we pull this out to the first click, I can turn that and it advances, and you'll notice right at the bottom by my thumb, right here, the date is in the 6 o'clock position, which will be legible in this particular watch. Next step is to put the dial washer in place. So let's grab our dial washer, put that right there. Zoom out just a little bit. Okay. Next step is to get the dial back onto the watch movement. With everything loaded into the correct position. We'll just check the dial feet if they're in the appropriate hole for the watch movement. And then we'll squeeze this together so that the dial looks good, and if we examine that, the dial is seated perfectly onto the watch. Okay, now let's not forget, we have to set the 12 o'clock position. Because this does have a date ring, we have to deal with, let's set this now, let's get back. the midnight position. Midnight. And let's try the hand again. Okay, again we're going to test back and forth, make sure it doesn't hit the indicators, and it's not. Go back to the midnight position, and now it's time to set the minute hand. Position it over the hour hand. If it's lined up pretty straight, and we can put this in place. Okay, and now we just want to turn it and make sure the hour hand and the minute hand are not going to rub against each other. If you look closely, you can see on the second hand that the second hand has, focus, a little bit of a stub on it, and that's what goes on the second hand pinion. Does so very carefully. And you're just going to pressure fit it down just slightly so that it's firm but not interfering with anything. Okay. And again, I'm checking for tolerances to make sure that the second hand is not interfering with any part of the watch. Okay, let's check hand clearance again one more time. Perfect. No interference. Now, with that being done, the next thing I'm going to do is actually test the watch. We're going to put the battery in. This particular one, because the rim is so big on the dial, we can lay it on our bench. It's not going to interfere with anything. I'm going to take this battery, we're going to put it into the watch and just make sure the watch runs. This is a brand new battery, I hope. And now the second hand should turn when we push the crown in. Beautiful. The watch is ready. Again, we have to remove this temporary crown. This is the crown that ships with the new movement. So we're going to remove that. And the way we remove it, again, push it out, pull it out to the first click. And then we're going to use a fine screwdriver to push into the release hole. And I'm going to push down, pull that out. We're going to grab our case, put that in position. The watch should fit in pretty good without any issues. We'll take our original crown and stem and we'll gently push that into the watch. And look at that, it's running. You'd like to see that. Next thing is put the spacer into the watch. So first here, slide it down. Should hold the movement in position. 10:48. Push that in, tighten the crown down. And that, guys, is how you change the date ring on a watch that unfortunately got ordered incorrectly. Again, this is Pete from myjewelrybench.com. If you have any questions, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, leave comments below. If you liked it, please share it, because the more you share, the more you hit the like button, the more views I get. Somehow that works. And if you want to see more of these videos, hit the subscribe button. You can subscribe to my channel. You'll see videos every time I put them up. I try to put them up once or twice a week, sometimes a little more. This is a viewer-funded channel, so if you want to help support us, in the link below, check it out below. There's a link to Patreon, and you can support us on Patreon. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to try doing this yourself, I hope you feel comfortable. There'll be a link to the tools that you need in the description below and also on my website, so check those out. Those are affiliate links. I do get a small commission on those, and I hope to see you in the next video. Take care. Have a good day, guys.